on the Cambridge Ball State Cardinals Sports Network. From Learfield, this is the ChirpCast, your source for everything Ball State athletics. Now, here is the voice of the Cardinals, Mick Tidrow.
Special day today around Ball State football, the culmination of the recruiting trails, the visits, the trips, everybody coming together. Today, National Signing Day, an exciting day for transfers, high school seniors, the like. And we're happy to be joined by head coach Mike New to talk about everything that has gone on during this recruiting process. Coach, it's a whirlwind, I'm sure, for you and the staff. But how is this day it just mean for Ball State football, and what's next?
Well, there's a lot of hard work that gets to this day, and so to be able to get signing day here, you race to the office first thing this morning, and you know everybody comes in to the staff room because starting at 7 o'clock Eastern time, that's when we can start announcing on social media who has joined our family. And so, but going back, just I want to credit the staff, our coaching staff, and everybody involved in the recruiting process, because it's a long period of time with a lot of different phases of unofficial visits on campus, a lot of phone calls, a lot of communication through social media, official visits. There's a lot that goes into the process, and I really want to give credit to our staff for just the tireless work that it takes, the commitment that it takes to be able to get to National Signing Day. And, you know, obviously our two recruiting coordinators, Vic Hall and Joey Hecklinski, did a great job of just leading the charge and making sure that our recruiting efforts were consistent week in, week out throughout the whole year. And so it's exciting, a little bit of relief, obviously, to get to this day, because every one of these young men that has become part of our family today, we're ecstatic about. And obviously, we can't wait for the journey to get started, and just exciting.
You mentioned Joey and Vic. Definitely want to talk about them before we get into the 17 athletes we'll talk about today. Those two spending a lot of time during the recruiting process on the road and having a chance to sit down with so many of these athletes. Take us into the minds of what those two have had to do throughout this whole process and why they've been so pivotal to the process. Yeah,
and this would be the first time for us that we had split recruiting coordinator duties. And the reason for that is, you know, with the ever-changing climate, the landscape right now of college athletics, with high school, with transfer portal, with junior, there's a lot of prospects out there. And so really just made the decision, wanted to make sure that Vic, you know, in his role as a recruiting coordinator, as a co-recruiting coordinator, was really given enough attention to the defensive side of the ball and all the movement and all the prospects and avenues to add prospects. And then flip side of that, having, you know, Joey Hecklinski as a co-recruiting coordinator, really focusing on the offensive side of the ball. And those two guys have done a great job. They've every promotion that they've gotten, they've earned because of their work ethic, because of their character. And you knew both of those guys would do a great job with the attention to detail and leaving no stone unturned. So couldn't be happier with the job that those guys did in leading the charge and getting us to today.
So let's look at some of the numbers real fast. 9 team captains from some of these players. 9 different states are included within this 17-player bunch, which is impressive with the 17 players, 9 different states, 10 offensive players, 7 defensive players. Trying to wrap our heads around those numbers. How does all of that sound to you as the head coach, being able to sit down and say, this is what I have coming into the program?
Yeah, you know, and starting with the first comment you made there just about captains, you know, you do so much work evaluating the tape. You do so much work talking about their character, their background, injury history, how are they doing academically. And so all that really is just to reinforce how important bringing in leaders, guys that have been in a leadership position at the high school, at their respective high schools. When you bring those guys into your program, they understand what it takes to be in that role. And even though to some degree they're starting all over again at the bottom of the depth chart, you know, it's great to have guys that know what it takes and know the kind of things that you're looking for in terms of running a top-notch program. And so excited to be able to have young men that have been captains for their respective programs, because that means they've been in a leadership position.
And then 9 different states. We talk a lot about the bunch of Indiana, trying to bring the best Indiana talent to Ball State. But now the fact that you're jumping into Kentucky, Missouri, Ohio, the list goes on and on. A couple from California in this class. How pivotal is it to have a diverse cast of characters coming in from different states while also still tapping into that Indiana pool?
Yeah, it is. You want to do a great job, and our number one goal certainly is to try to do a great job regionally, the area that we can reach, in a close proximity to our campus here. But at the same time, with how the dynamics have changed and with the transfer portal, with junior colleges, you want to attack guys that fit your program. It just so happened that, and again, it speaks to the effort, the attention to detail of Vic Hall, of Joey Hecklinski, of our staff. We were trying to identify guys, and we had to go out and recruit them, and it was a crazy last 3 weeks, especially, once we played our final game, and it was really hectic. A lot of travel, a lot of flights, a lot of, really doing a great job the best you can to make sure you do your due diligence, get a chance to interact with these young men to make sure you're bringing in the right fit. And really that's what it's all about. And, it was all said and done. You're not tracking exactly on the number of states that we're reaching out to, but it was all said and done. I think it just, again, speaks volumes to the job our staff has done of, going to attack players that fit our program here at Ball State and can come in and really contribute to a great culture and a winning culture.
You talk about the last 3 weeks after the season. This is a good way to ring in the new year, the holidays, everything coming into today, December 21st, before the new year comes together. But when you talk about the staff being so focused on making sure that Indiana players are looked at and everywhere else across the country are looked at, how much do you try to prioritize making sure that you hit a number, or is it we just need to go out and find the best players? How does that process go?
Yeah, I think with the rapid changing landscape, if you will, day to day, because of the transfer portal, because we're also in the transfer portal window right now from the time it opened up on December 5th until midway through January here. Certainly that can change what your roster needs are. And you might not have known that here a month ago, that, hey, we're looking at a need at this respective position. So it changes quickly. And so I think it really our staff did a great job of reacting and making sure we were planned in the best way we possibly could to go attack needs for our roster. And again, every day is a new day right now, and so you got to be on your toes. You got to be willing to adjust. You got to be willing to adapt. And I think our staff has done a great job of that. Really proud of the work. Really proud of the effort. Really proud of the tireless hours that these guys have worked, especially in these last few weeks here to get us to signing day.
All right, I think I've kept everybody waiting long enough to get to the players. We've mentioned all the broad scope of things. Let's start diving into which players are coming into the Ball State football program. We're going to go 1 through 17, offense first and defense second, and start with the offensive line at the top for the offensive side. Tristan Cook, Robert Fogler, Eli Freeman, Isaac Lucas, the 4 offensive linemen come in. And when we look at the numbers, 6'5", 6'7", 6'4", 6'4", it's a pretty tall offensive line, Coach. We can break down each player as we go, but just starting off with Tristan Cook, what does he bring to the table?
Tristan is his numbers speak for themselves. When you talk about a young man that's 6'5", 300 pounds, and he is got elite size, a great competitor, dominant blocker. He's a guy that, in his state of Kentucky there was ranked, as the 17th best player in the state. And this young man is coming into our program. He's going to start with us in January, which is exciting, but he's got tremendous upside, man. And when you can have that kind of physicality that he plays the game with to go along with that size, that's exciting. And I know for us and the job that Coach Johnson did in his recruiting process, he's a great addition to our family.
Tristan Cook, 6'5", 300-pound freshman from Lexington, Kentucky. And you talk about him being able to jump in January. So pivotal to have those players have an early chance. Looking at Eli Freeman, 6'4", out of Lebanon High School in Tennessee. One of those players that comes in and has a chance to make another impact.
Yeah, Eli also, he's one of those young men that when you look at that kind of size, it gets you excited because you see that frame. You see once we get him in here, and all these guys, once you get him in here with our strength and conditioning program led by Coach Armour, just the development that's going to take place, changing their body. When you have that kind of size to work with, and then you come in and you really focus on tweaking their body, making some changes that way, well, it's exciting because Eli's a very athletic young man, got great upside. He comes from a great program there, and so just excited about what he's going to bring, and certainly we feel like he's got some position flexibility also. He could play a number of different spots on the offensive line there.
And we see that always ever-changing offensive line, right, with college teams needing offensive linemen to be versatile, very big get for Eli Freeman and Ball State football. Taking a look at Isaac Lucas, 6'4", from Youngstown, Ohio, 3-year letter winner, 3-time All-Conference. Accolades are there. Another player who comes in and immediately is probably going to vie for offensive lineman chances. What do you see from him?
Yeah, Isaac's one of those young men that really came onto the scene during the June prospect camp circus. Coach Johnson did a great job of identifying him. He was at our camp here at Ball State, but he just really, when he came out and he stood out, in that camp setting when there's a lot of different young men to evaluate, that really gave a great first impression. And, everywhere along the way, game film, everything that goes into the process, he just kept checking every box. He's one of those guys that, 6'4", 270 right now, but huge upside once we get him in here, once we get him in the strength and conditioning program, once we add weight to him the right way. He's got a lot of great football ahead of him. It's already pretty impressive that he started 38 games in a row there at his high school.
What else is impressive is a 6'7" offensive lineman coming in, Robert Fogler from Cincinnati, Ohio. First off, when Colin Johnson and the rest of the staff saw 6'7" and the way that he plays football, what was the first reaction?
Well, to see a guy that's that big and the way he was mauling people on tape was fun. Fun in a good way. You love to see that physicality. You love to see guys finish the way that he did. But, man, he's got unbelievable size. That speaks for itself. He's very athletic for a guy that's that big. Comes from a great program there at St. Xavier in Cincinnati. And so, and he also, was a team captain there. And so this guy is exciting and really his recruiting picked up late in the process here, but Coach Johnson did a great job with him, and it was great to be able to spend some time with him, especially when he was here on his official visit, and he's going to be a great addition as that whole group of offensive linemen are.
That's 4 offensive linemen: Ohio, Tennessee, Ohio, Kentucky, and Tristan Cook, the lone January start. The other 3 come in May for the offensive line. Transitioning to the one tight end in this class on the offensive side, Christian Abney. Played quarterback in high school. We've heard that story before from Ball State football players that played quarterback in high school and now transitioned to tight end. Brady Hunt did it this past year for Ball State. What is he going to bring to the table as a tight end?
Yeah, and Christian had a great career there at Zionsville. He did a great job. He was at one of our prospect camps here, too, at Ball State. He came to the camp as a quarterback that day. Certainly, we had some communication with him because of how athletic he was and how good he moves, his speed. Coach Elliott, Coach Lynch did a great job just communicating with him. And after we were done with the quarterback portion of the workout here, asked him if he'd be willing to run a few routes. To his credit, he embraced that. Really stood out that day. He really did a great job of looking natural for a guy that probably hadn't spent a bunch of time running routes. So it's awesome. He is coming in and he's embraced that conversation back when we first started it about having a chance to come in here as a tight end, and certainly to see what's happened here this past year with Brady, with Tanner. He's excited because that's a very talented room with guys that have a great athletic skill set, and excited about the future here for Christian.
Yeah, Brady Hunt 6'6", Tanner Koziel 6'7", Christian Abney comes in 6'5" for the tight end room. All-state player, offensive MVP, a team captain for Zionsville High School, and a 2-year varsity letter winner. He also had some injuries as a junior, but came back after that and then posted 18 total touchdowns. For him to come in and miss so many games and then to have that type of production also speaks to the volume of the work ethic and the way that he can come back from adversity.
That's right. And those are, because it's going to happen. Adversity is going to happen for all these guys. Yes, he's experienced some there with his injury, but his mental toughness to to come back from that, to put the work in that it takes to get yourself back to where you need to be. Excited about just, everything that he stands for. Obviously, he was a team captain as well there at Zionsville, so excited about the upside there for Christian.
So that's the one tight end, Christian Abney, coming in from Zionsville High School. A couple of running backs, Christian Davis and TJ Horton. We always get excited to talk about running backs, and both will be here in January. Christian Davis from Miamisburg High School in Ohio, 6 foot 195, 4-year letter winner. What do you like about him?
I think both of these guys, you could say that, but both of these guys have a great skill set. Yes, they're great as runners, but their skill set to be involved also in the passing game. They both got good size, very similar in stature that way. But, man, I'm excited because both these guys, you see a nice combination of size, speed, athleticism, good skill set. Obviously, they got great balance. They can make people miss in the open field. And as you mentioned, man, really excited to get both of these young men in here, starting with us in January, because their first taste of it will be not just the winter workout program, but then you get a chance to get acclimated going through spring practice, and it's going to be exciting to see those two guys come in here and compete.
So Christian Davis, Miamisburg High School. TJ Horton from Frederick Douglass in Lexington, Kentucky. He was a 4-year letter winner, dynamic player. I mean, we talk about so many of these players that can have the wide receiver running back traits and can catch passes out of the backfield. With these two specifically, you talk about how quick they are too. These two can come in and be impact players, really two solid positions, right? Wide receiver, running back, be that combo type player that this program wants to have and move to the next level.
Yeah, and I think that's certainly something those guys probably looked at as well in the recruiting process and knew that, man, I'm going to have an opportunity if I'm making plays on the field and, I'm doing my part and I'm able to pick up the scheme offensively. No reason why I can't get on the field sooner rather than later. And, it's cool to see, a guy like TJ that, finished off his senior year there being 15-0 and being a state champion. And, it's just the skill set with these two guys, and to think about the number of, highly successful running backs have been at Ball State and highly successful running backs that have been in our conference. These two guys are exciting guys just to evaluate the tape and know that, they both have a great opportunity to have great futures here.
Christian Davis finished his career 4,000 career yards, almost 900 as a senior. Also played some defense, but running back for Ball State at a 6 foot 195 freshman from Miamisburg. And then TJ Horton again from Frederick Douglass in Lexington, Kentucky. 4-year varsity player for TJ Horton. Two-way player. 15-0 record, like you mentioned, Coach. Lots of numbers for TJ Horton. So that's the running back room that's coming in with Davis and Horton. Looking at a couple of the wide receivers on the offensive side. Isaiah Thacker, Malcolm Gilley. That's Thacker, New Palestine High School, and then Gilley's coming in from Ellsworth Community College. So one freshman, one transfer. It's always fun to have the different mix, right? To have incoming freshmen at wide receiver and then also transfer wide receiver. So let's go ahead and start with Isaac Thacker from New Palestine High School. 6'2", 190, multi-sport athlete, jumps off the page.
Isaiah has a great combination. You talk about the athleticism, the speed, but he is a great athlete, and that jumps off the tape when you put it on. Play after play, when you watch his tape, you can see that speed, you can see the explosiveness, and he's got big playability. When you can be able to add somebody like that to your offense, that's exciting. You don't want to put unfair expectations on him too quick because he's got to come in. He's got to learn the offense. But it's been great during the recruiting process just to learn, more and more about Isaiah and about his family. And, man, he's got high football IQ, and he's one of those guys that can come in here and he can have a chance to do a lot of great things for us early on in the process. And I think it's pretty cool to see with his credentials here that he set a school record in the long jump last spring at 22.5 feet. So that just speaks to the athleticism. It speaks to what this young man's all about. Comes from a great program there, New Palestine High School. We've got, other young men in our program that have come from there. And so they do a great job. Coach Ralph has done a great job with their strength and conditioning program there, and they play high-level football week in, week out, and it's going to be great to be able to get Isaiah in here.
Isaiah Thacker, 55 catches, 917 total yards, 9 touchdowns as a senior, 3-time All-State selection as well. Almost 2,000 career yards in those 3 seasons, almost 20 touchdown receptions as well. Pretty good on the kickoff punt return team as well. Shows off that athleticism and that IQ. Can really do it all in very.
And that's exciting, as you mentioned, just the special teams value, the return value, all those things. That's exciting to be able to add, somebody that has those type of tools and can bring, a big addition to that part of your game.
That speaks to his IQ, right? Being able to run the routes, be a wide receiver, and then also go in special teams and make an impact. And we've even on ChirpCast, we've talked to so many of the players currently at Ball State how big special teams plays a factor in a player's development and growth. So as we sit here and talk about the list of 14 freshmen that are coming in, maybe sometimes that's where the first jump starts.
Well, I think if you look over the guys that are in our program now and you think about the Cole Pierces of the world, his journey really started as an impact player on special teams. You think about Clayton Call. You think about some of the guys that are in starting roles now playing every single snap on defense or offense. Back in the day, their journey really started of really being an impact player on special teams first. And, that's always been our philosophy here from day number one. Coach Conley's doing a great job now in his role that our best players are going to play on special teams because that helps set the standards. That helps make sure that everybody's locked in to that part of the game when we have those meetings in the morning, when we're drilling that or we're working on that on the practice field.
So moving our attention to the first transfer that we'll have a chance to talk about today, wide receiver Malcolm Gilley from Ellsworth Community College, Milwaukee, Wisconsin native, 6'2", 205. Another explosive wide receiver coming to Ball State football.
Yeah, excited to be able to get Malcolm. He's played college football, so being a transfer from Ellsworth Community College, he understands he's got a little better feel, obviously, for the speed of the game. But this guy's got good size and speed, which is exciting, and it's legit. When you look at him and you still think about, even though he's a transfer, he's still got great upside here. And he's one of the guys that was one of the last, if you will, to take an official visit here this past weekend. So it was a great job by Coach Elliott, Coach Lynch, our offensive staff there to be able to work and fight all the way to the end to get Malcolm, to join our family here. So he's going to be here with us in January, which is exciting, to get that part of his journey started. But he's a really good addition. Both of those wide receivers have the kind of speed that you look for, and certainly both have good size as well.
When you talk about untapped potential with Gilley and with Thacker, what does that really mean?
Well, I think more than anything else, we get them in here and we feel like what we do offensively, we move the wideouts around. So, as you get them in here and you get them in the meeting room and you see what their football intelligence, how much can they retain, how much can they take on early, that just gives you a chance when you are playing an 11 personnel. They've got to know more than one wide receiver position. And so those are guys that when you talk about untapped potential, you could see his skill set playing a number of different roles. When you can run like that and you got pretty good size, you can move them around the field and have a little bit more versatility that way. So when you see that and you talk about untapped potential, really those are some of the things that you focus on when it comes to that.
Excited to see those two join the Ball State football program. The wide receivers, Malcolm Gilley and Isaiah Thacker. Thacker from New Palestine High School and Gilley transfer from Ellsworth Community College. So one more position to talk about on the field offensively. When I say quarterback, what do you think of?
Well, obviously, Caden Simons is a young man that you got to give him credit. He made a trip out here from California during the June prospect camp circuit, and really when he came out here, he blew us away. He really did. And to me, a lot of value. You got to be able to see a quarterback throw. You got to be able to interact with him. It's easy. We watch the game tape, but until you get a chance to be around them and interact with them, see what their confidence level's like, how do they carry themselves, what's their football intelligence like. And he really blew us out of the water when he came for that prospect camp. And Coach Kevin Lynch has done a great job. Obviously, there's a lot of states between here and California, and we've spent a lot of time recruiting Caden. He comes from a great high school program out there, Mission Viejo. He's been a 3-time captain, 3-time all-conference player. He's a competitor, man. He is a competitor. He's got elite accuracy. He's a really good athlete, can throw on the move, can extend plays, can improvise when that time comes. But he's a winner, man. He's a winner, ultimate competitor, fired up. He's going to be joining us here in January as well. So it'll be exciting to have him come and really create competition in that quarterback room.
That's Caden Simonza, quarterback from Mission Viejo High School from Westminster, California. You talk about his ability to improvise, 33 passing touchdowns, 10 rushing touchdowns. So when those numbers jump off the charts, 43 total touchdowns as a senior, throws for almost 2,900 yards, all packaged together. Runner, thrower, you mentioned accuracy, the arm strength, it's all there.
Yeah, it's exciting to me when you look at his tape. It's as good of tape as over the last several years, and you get excited about what you see, and he's done it consistently week in, week out, which is really important. And he's been a multi-year starter, and he's done a lot of good things each and every year, and he's got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder because a lot of times when you're in that category with your 6 foot 6'1", you got a little chip on your shoulder because you've heard a number of people say, hey, well, he's not tall enough or whatever it may be, but Caden Simonza is a ultimate competitor, and I really have enjoyed getting to know him and be around him and talk football with him throughout the recruiting process.
Well, I've heard there's a specific head coach at the Ball State football program that's worked with quarterbacks that were deemed too small, a la Drew Brees.
You talking about Coach Brees over at Purdue?
Yeah, we'll just leave that right there. We'll let that go right there and let the audience think what they need to there. Let's go to the defensive side. The offensive playmakers, all 10 of them, we talked about them, and defensively starting off with a transfer coming in from Lehigh University, defensive lineman Makari Siblis. He's physical. He's experienced at Lehigh. What stands out about him?
Well, you nailed it. When you talk about being 6'4", 265 pounds, he is big. He's physical. He can play the run. He can rush the passer. Feel like he's got the total package. He's got great experience, as you mentioned. He's played the game, college game at a high level. Been an all-conference player there. He's been a captain, which I love. So he'll add, from a leadership standpoint, he knows what that looks like. He knows what that looks like at the college level. He's going to be a huge asset to our program overall, not just from a defensive standpoint, but as a team. Really impressive when he came to take his official visit here at Ball State, be able to interact with him, his father, his brother. This is a great young man, and he'll have to finish next semester there at Lehigh before he joins us in the summertime. But boy, he's going to be a great addition to that group of guys up front defensively.
Siblis, 6'4", 265. 17.5 tackles for loss, 10 sacks in his career, almost 120 total tackles. Speaks for itself, right? You talk about how physical he is, but also the production's there to help set a standard on that defensive line as a transfer coming in.
No question, and he's still hungry. He's hungry. This is obviously, playing in this conference, and the number of good football teams that are in this conference, you're going to be battle tested, and that you got to bring your A game each and every week, and love watching his tape, love what he brings to the table, and very mature young man. When you talk to him, he knows exactly what he's looking for, and he's going to be a great addition for us.
One more coming in on the defensive line. That's Cody Smith from Liberty Ranch High School, 2-year letter winner. But even more importantly, like we talked about at the very beginning, a 2-time captain. 2-year letter winner and a 2-time captain. So he jumped in first year on the varsity level. He was a captain, and that speaks a lot to what he can be.
It does, because the next thing you read there, not only is he a captain, but he led his team to the first undefeated season in school history. So, doing that from his role as a player and also being a leader, he understands what it takes to hold your teammates accountable. And this is a big man, 6'7", 245 pounds. And
that's a high school student.
High school, and He's a great athlete because he's a great basketball player as well. He split time. He played offense at a high level at tight end. He played defense at a high level. So make no mistake about it, because Coach Stockton would be upset if I didn't say for sure. He is coming into our program as a defensive end, and boy, when you're you're as long and you're as rangy as he is. He's got great versatility. You get him in here and you start focusing all your effort and your energy on the training that goes into football, the off-season training that goes into football. Man, the sky's the limit for this guy, and just excited to get a guy with that kind of size. He too, that's a lot of states to travel from California here, but when we had him out here on the official visit a couple weeks ago, it was awesome. Mom and Dad were both athletes at Cal, so it's going to be great to get him here, and very impressive, resume, very impressive young man.
Cody Smith, 3-star recruit, 10.5 sacks, 46 quarterback hurries. I love that stat because sometimes people don't look at that as much as the stats of sacks and tackles for loss, but 46 quarterback hurries in one season, it's impressive. He's not doesn't have to just get to the quarterback and hit him and sack him or have a tackle for loss to make an impact.
No question. Obviously, here's a guy that obviously has a knack for getting to the quarterback and spending time in the opponent's backfield. So obviously, looking forward to him being a great addition to our defense.
So that's the defensive line coming in. Siblis and Smith. Siblis, the transfer from Lehigh, and Cody Smith, Liberty Ranch High School product out in California, coming in for his freshman season. Let's look at some linebackers. Darren Conley from Pembroke Hill in Kansas City, Missouri, 6'4", 225, two-time All-State. Seems like one of those all-around players.
Got to make sure, man. Right out of the gate, Diesel. That's his nickname, Diesel.
Nickname already. I love it.
Yes, and so he's got tremendous ability to rush the passer. He also is one of those guys that is an outstanding basketball player, very physical on the basketball court. He's one of those guys that he's got a background not only in basketball, track and field as well. Very high football IQ. Comes from a very athletic family. Got great length and athleticism. Going to be a great addition to that outside linebacker room. And I think even right now it's been fun to track him. He was hard, to be able to find time to get him here on an official visit because he's busy with basketball, averaging a double-double. So doing a lot of good things on the basketball court as well. But his athleticism, his upside, to be 6'4", 225 pounds, and he's been playing so many different things that when you start to really get him in and you start focusing on football and training and everything that goes into it, boy, he's got a bright future ahead of him.
Coach Lewis over at basketball hasn't heard about him yet, has he?
Let's keep it that way.
Let's keep it that way. That's Darren Conley, the outside linebacker. He has put up some pretty impressive numbers. 3-star recruit, 100 solo tackles, 40 sacks in his career. That's Darren Conley, outside linebacker. Ben Marsh joining the team in January, inside linebacker from Hilliard-Darby High School in Ohio, 6'4", 240, another two-time captain.
Yeah, awesome. And Ben's one of those guys that we've been recruiting for a long time here. And it's when you see a guy with that kind of size quickly, the first thing you think about, man, there's another guy similar in stature to Clayton Call. He's a big linebacker, but don't be misled by he's big, but he's got great athleticism. He's got really good, initial quickness. He's one of those guys that got great movement skills, and his game is the way he plays the game is physicality. He's a guy like when you look at being an inside linebacker and you're really being the leader on that defensive side of the ball, kind of like a quarterback in some ways. It's great that this young man's been a two-time captain. He's been in that position before, and he's a guy that's got a very high football IQ. I know Coach Stockton's looking forward to having another young man like that in his room that has a chance to do some really special things.
86 tackles, 6 forced fumbles, 2 interceptions as a senior inside linebacker over at Hilliard-Darby High School. Two-way player, going to play defense at Ball State. That's Ben Marsh, inside linebacker, 6'4", 240 pounds. That's a look at the linebackers coming in for Ball State football. And now looking at the DBs. Ball State had several DBs graduate from the team this year, so bringing in 3 defensive backs. And start off with D.D. Snyder, transfer from Illinois. Tampa, Florida native, 6', 185. Pretty physical player that is not afraid to show wide receivers what he's capable of doing.
Yeah, Dede obviously was impressive when he hit the portal. Our defensive staff, Coach Hall, Coach JZ, Coach Stock did a great job of really getting to know him as well as we could, as fast as we could. So obviously when that happens, quick turnaround, shorter process, shorter window to really get to know somebody. But really vetted Dede and studied his tape tape, studied all of his practice tape as well at Illinois. Had a little bit of a past history with Kyle Kelly, which was awesome. Because anytime you can lean on that, and Kyle can speak on his experience here as a player, to be able to share that with Dede. But man, he very engaging personality when he got here. One of those guys that's a ton of fun to be around. He loves the game. Very high football IQ. Love the fact that he's got great versatility. We feel like he can play a number of different spots. I think, which is important. You look back, you think about guys like J.T. Wahi, who played so many different spots for us. Played safety, played corner, played nickel. It's exciting to get a guy like Dede with his kind of size at 6 foot, 185, and know that, man, he's got the physicality that you look for. He's got, get great position flexibility that way.
Three-star recruit, ranked 59th at his position by ESPN, leaving high school. So spent 2 years at Illinois, and he is a Ball State commit, Tampa, Florida product. Let's take a look at a couple of freshmen coming in, defensive back. Elijah Davis, Pike High School from Indianapolis, local, right down the street, and one of those players that, again, another team captain in the defensive back group. How much do you like him coming in?
Yeah, well, first of all, you love that kind of size. When you see a guy that as a defensive back, and he's 6'1" like that, and he's got that kind of length, that's awesome. But really what jumped off the charts about Elijah from the beginning was just his explosiveness. Really good athlete, just some freaky athletic movement skills, if you will. He's a guy that also was a team captain, defensive player of the year there, 3-year letter winner. He was the leader of the team on defense. But he, too, you just get excited about their versatility, their position flexibility. You see him being able to play a number of different spots for us there. Smart guy, and you can tell he loves football. When you have a conversation with him, what he loves to talk ball, and he's very passionate about it. And, Coach Hall and defensive staff certainly did a great job there with Elijah, and it's great to be able to add a young man from right down the road.
Named Pike High School Defensive Player of the Year, 40 tackles, a couple of interceptions, fumble recoveries for Elijah Davis, defensive back, 6'1" from Pike High School. And the last individual we'll talk about, DJ Fields Jr., defensive back from St. Charles, Missouri, 6'1", 185. You mentioned the physicality and the height from Elijah Davis. Well, Fields Jr. brings the same thing, 6'1" frame, 2-time All-Conference, one of those players that can impress.
Well, and that's important too. Just like we mentioned with Elijah, just like we mentioned with Dede Snyder, DJ Fields is one of those guys too that has great size. You think about the receivers and the way there are nowadays. There's so many big wideouts out there, and when you can have defensive backs like this that have some good size, have some good length, that certainly helps. But at the same time, you want to make sure that they're athletic enough. You want to make sure they're twitchy enough. You want to make sure that they have versatility, because you're going to have to move them around. They're going to benefit from being able to play more than one position. So it's awesome. DJ, all-conference player as well. He's long, he's fast, he's athletic. He's played both sides of the ball in high school and also return kicks. So a lot of things there. Certainly feel like he could add value to the special teams part of it. And it's exciting, that group overall. Great length and guys that have position versatility.
I think my favorite number that pops up talking about Fields is the 8 yards that he allowed all season as a senior and 34 yards allowed as a junior. That's insane.
Not very many people probably can say that, not very many people can say that. So that's a good statistic to own, if you will. But DJ is one of those guys that, love just what you're talking about, his confidence level. You got to have swagger as a defensive back when you're playing that position. And that's something that we always look for when we talk about, going out and finding defensive backs that fit us. You always got to find that.
That's DJ Fields, defensive back from St. Charles, Missouri, 6'1", 185, 2-time All-Conference. Well, that wraps up 17 players, 10 on the offensive side, 7 defensive players, spanning over 9 different states here on National Signing Day. ChirpCast special with head coach Mike New. Coach, before we let you go, just your overall thoughts about what this 17-player, as of right now, class brings to the table.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, these guys haven't stepped foot yet on Ball State's campus, but I can't say enough how proud I am of our staff for identifying guys. Not only are they great players that we feel like have the skill set that can help us win football games, but they're also first-class young men that have great character references, through the vetting process and the research that our guys done. Just feel like they're going to be a great fit to what we're looking for here, the culture that we have and that we try to work on day in, day out. And so can't wait to get these guys in here, to go to work with them every single day. And that's the fun part of it. Now the journey really begins when you get to bring them in, you develop them, and let's face it, the goal is to add these guys and, go win football games. And can't wait to get this group in here. Very excited about the group overall. Check off a lot of boxes for us, and now it's time to get to work.
A lot of buzz with this 17-player class, Coach. We can't wait to see what happens on the football field with all 17 of these athletes. Thanks for jumping on ChirpCast and breaking this down.
Well, as always, thanks for having me. It's always fun, and appreciate the work that you do for our program.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. And this is National Signing Day out at Ball State football. 17 players. Make sure to check out Ball State Twitter and Instagram, tweeting out every single player, bios, highlights. Make sure you are getting the scoop of new Ball State football student athletes. This has been National Signing Day with head coach Mike New on ChirpCast.
This has been the ChirpCast with Mick Tidrow.